Hey there, this is Matthew Jennings, and on this episode of Peachjar Extra Credit, I am talking to Erica Wacker, and we are talking about declining enrollment and some really interesting things that her district and her team and herself particularly are doing to help stabilize that decline and level things out just a little bit. Stay tuned. Erica, thank you so much for joining me. We are here at the CGCS conference preceding the INSPIRA conference in absolutely gorgeous Seattle, Bellevue, more specifically, but Washington. Really beautiful here. So you might hear some of the conference happenings, you might hear people talking, you might see people walking behind us. Just know that this is alive and well. It's a thriving space where a lot of professional development is happening. I know you're super busy. We're actually about to head into our next session, so thanks for taking the time to sit with me a little bit. You had a presentation this morning that I really loved, and it was coming at declining enrollment through a little different lens and a different angle than I've covered in previous Peachjar Extra Credits. Before we dive into that, can you tell all of us a little bit about yourself and your background and your school district?
Sure. So my name is Erica Wacker. I am the Communications Director for St. Paul Public Schools, which is the second largest school district in the state of Minnesota. I've been with the district since March of 2020, and prior to that I did communications for the State Tourism Agency. I've done a lot of content and communications work for all different industries, so travel, for-profit, nonprofit, higher ed, and then K-12 for the last 4 years.
That's awesome. Well, again, thank you for being here. You're obviously a breadth of experience that you bring to the table and to this conversation, and I just found it really unique what y'all are doing there in your school district to help kind of turn back the tide a little bit, at least slow it down on the declining enrollment. And we could talk about some of the whys we're all experiencing. And of course, it doesn't actually impact everyone nationally equally. There are actually certain pockets in the United States that are thriving and they're seeing an increase in enrollment, but those are extremely rare cases. And that's usually because more families are leaving other areas where maybe the rent has gotten too high or purchasing power just isn't what it is, and they can't survive in those markets, and they're finding places that are more affordable to live. Maybe it's job related, but any district in the United States right now that's seeing an increase in enrollment is absolutely in the minority. So talk to me a little bit about some of the work you're doing in your school district to help slow that down.
Yes, so in St. Paul, we've had some pretty steep enrollment declines over the past several years. The last 4 years in particular, we've lost over 1,000 students every year, and that's for a district of about, now we're at 33,000, so that's a pretty significant drop. So coming into the 23-24 school year, we started doing some more proactive work across the district to see what we could do to impact that trend. Of course, things like housing, declining birth rates, a lot of things that are out of our control are going to impact our enrollment, but we didn't feel like we could just blame those outside forces. We do need to take some ownership of our enrollment, and maybe there's some things we can do proactively to invite families back to our district who may have left for charters or maybe considering charters or considering open enrolling into a neighboring district. So essentially what we did was we started a committee that included a wide range of voices. So we had board members on the committee, we had district staff from different departments, we had our teachers union represented, as well as some members of our school community. Some were parents, some were staff, or a combination of both to be on that committee as well. We were given a budget, and we got to work with a district-wide marketing campaign for the first year. And then the big push was in the second year of the project was picking 6 individual schools and doing marketing for those schools, because what we've learned is families and parents do not choose districts, they choose schools. So we needed to focus on that and make sure each of those schools had a solid brand and a solid voice and presence in the community.
That's so true. They do pick schools. And you had mentioned something in your presentation this morning that you want to bring programs and value to your community that they're looking for. How did you identify what your community's needs were?
Yes, so we did some partnering with some consultants, including a demographer, to kind of collect that data on who are we serving, who are we not, what areas of our city are we losing the most students to charters, to privates, to out of district. So looking at that data as well as listening to the community, and in some cases the community came to us. So we have a large Somali population in St. Paul, and because of the community telling us that they were going to charters because that was the only option that they felt met their needs, they told us, if you open a school for us that includes our culture, our language, we will bring the families back to St. Paul Public Schools. And so we listened to them and we said okay, and within a 3-month span, we went from having an idea to a fully staffed school with a building and a wonderful principal and staff, and eventually students more than we had initially hoped to gain. So that's just one example of, we listened to what the community wanted and we filled a need that we weren't previously filling.
That's really beautiful. And you can do that a lot of ways, surveys. I know that in one of my previous districts, a few years back, we did a round robin, and we literally went to every single school in the district. We met with the PTAs and the foundations. We let all the parents know the invite. And one of the questions we asked was if budget wasn't a consideration, and if you could have anything you wanted in your child's school, what would it be? And we collected all that data. And then at the end of the day, we were able to kind of bear out in certain areas, and it was different in the different demographical areas. One community wanted, maybe stronger theater programs. One community wanted maybe more trade programs. One community was very interesting. There was a lot of schools in a particular area that wanted more Mandarin classes. They were predominantly Spanish-speaking students in those areas, and they wanted their students to learn Mandarin. And we were able to, as a district, then to prioritize what programs we felt we could invest in and bring to fruition, and we did that many times over in that district, and it was very successful, kind of the same. So bringing the programs that are specific to your community's wants is a big one. You talked about like the 4 P's of kind of that marketing 101. Can you walk me through those?
Sure. So in traditional marketing, there's the 4 P's, which are product, price, place, and promotion.
Okay.
Similar idea, but a little bit different for schools. We came up with the 4 P's of school enrollment, which are programs, principals, and then place and promotion. So having that solid program in place, whether it's the East African program, a language immersion program, a magnet focus that families want, or just a great community school that families love, and being able to tout the benefits of being able to walk to the school, and you have your neighbors going to the same school and you're all part of one big community. Just all of that needs to be in place, as well as you need a really strong principal. Principals have to do everything under the sun, and there's never enough hours in the day to do all the things they need to do to be effective leaders of their school. But ones who want to grow their enrollment, who have a strong vision for what they want their school to be, and they see the need and the desire to attract more families to those schools, that is a really key ingredient in actually growing their enrollment. They have to play an active role. We also talk about the place, so a lot of our buildings can be kind of old. They're maybe not primely located for where people live because they were built 40 years ago and times have changed. They might not have good signage. Just some customer service basics about how do you use the place, your school, to create a welcoming and inviting environment for prospective families, even if it's not a bright, shiny new building. Do you have staff who are friendly on the phone? They're greeting people when they buzz into the intercom, welcoming them. Are they following up with prospective families after a tour to see if they have any more questions, if they actually want to enroll? So just some hands-on time with those frontline staff at the schools is crucial, because in principal school, in becoming a school clerk, I don't think that they go over customer service or marketing very much, if at all. So it really is a good use of time to get those frontline people trained on how to provide that experience, because the charters and the privates are doing that.
That's a Really good point. Solid gold nugget there. Yeah, the value and the role principals play, I don't think can be overstated. You said that really well. They are critical. I know principals that even go out in the neighborhood and just knock on the doors in the neighborhood, and try to promote the programs and services that are there in their local community. That way, and meet prospective families. You have a pretty good capture rate. Right, as far as the number of students that reside in your district boundaries and the number of students that attend?
Yep. I'm not sure how it compares to other districts, but we do have about 60% of the school-age children in St. Paul attend our district schools. And then the next biggest bucket is charters. We are the birthplace of charter schools in St. Paul, Minnesota, so we have a lot of them, and a lot of them do cater specifically to our Somali community, to our Hmong community, to specific demographics where we have a lot of families, and so that is something that we have tapped into and noticed that families want all different kinds of experiences. So if that's what they're looking for, we need to offer that, and if they're looking for something more traditional, more whether it's STEM or arts or IB, all of that, we have all of those options. It's just connecting those families with the one that is going to be the right fit.
Yes. And so a couple of other things you said there that just a lot of really tune in here, a lot of really good information. So the customer service component, that's kind of multifaceted, but you had mentioned, the follow-up. And I if you're working with administrators out there that are turning people away from tours, first of all, that's a conversation you need to have with your administrative team. But if they are having prospective families come in and do tours, if they're not following up, they're absolutely missing out. Because a family that's shopping your school is also shopping other programs and services in other schools. And very likely some of those other paid areas like charters or private schools, they are following up. And they're doing it very, very well. Hey, using names. It was really nice to meet you yesterday, John, and I loved meeting little Timmy. And that you guys, I really loved connecting with Timmy on basketball. They're taking notes, and they're following back up on specific items to be relatable. You need to be doing that at the school site level as well. Yep. And you had mentioned customer service, and I always find that's a huge component as well. Even down to when somebody becomes a principal, they're not going to a specific class for maybe customer service. When we have administrators, administrative assistants that are answering the phones, in fact, a lot of times there's not a lot of customer service there either. But when you're on a phone call, you can tell if somebody's in a bad mood, or if you've interrupted them, or if they're smiling even, right? Yes. And so when you take that call from anyone that calls in your school and you answer with a smile, that will be felt on the other end of the phone, and that builds the relationships and the rapport, and that could be the first moment somebody's connected with your school as a prospective family. Yeah. Customer service, and you mentioned budget earlier too. Yeah. You were given specific budget to get out there and spread this information. What about the school sites that participated in this program? You said there were 6 schools that were selected. Were they also given budget to help market their school and their programs? Yes.
So each school got a combination of some centralized marketing support. So we worked with one of our vendor partners to do targeted social media campaigns. So they were A/B testing different ads. For example, our Spanish immersion school, they tested ads in English, they tested ads in Spanish, and they found that the Spanish ads performed better. So that's the kind of thing that we do not have capacity to do internally on my department, to do that level of A/B testing, of targeting online. So we really rely on our partners for that expertise. And then in addition to what the vendors were doing, we had a consultant who is actually a parent at one of our schools working directly with the schools on that customer service training, and then also they each got a $20,000 allocation to spend on we gave them a list of here's some ideas of what you could do. So some did yard signs, some did direct mail, flyers, professional photo shoots, and then tabling at community events. So that Spanish immersion school that I mentioned, they went to Cinco de Mayo, they've sent flyers to the local Spanish immersion daycares, and then again led by the very strong principal who was all in on growing her enrollment, they tabled at a laundromat. And they had activities for the kids. Kids are sitting there for an hour plus while their family's doing laundry. So let's give them something to do. They brought coloring sheets, and then they had information there about the school so that they could sort of start building that relationship with families from an early age right in their community.
That's awesome. And what about promotion? And so You've done some of these other, the three P's ahead of, and I think the fourth P you had mentioned was promotion,
Yep.
right? And you had said something really invaluable there as well in your session this morning, is that if you're not doing the work in the other areas, promotion is not going to be successful either. And I really love what you just said about the budget and giving some of the principals some autonomy to have control over what they're doing. A lot of times at the district level, it's kind of, we do what we can for as many schools as we can, and it's on us, and we do it. But I loved the idea of giving the principals some control in that as well. Did you find it that they maybe had some difficulty in spending some of those dollars? Because I know that they're pulled in so many different directions.
Yeah, we did. We gave them $20,000. Most were not able to spend all of it in the span of the year that we were doing this. So different reasons, again, just busyness, just, lack of awareness of what options even exist. They're not the ones doing the graphic design or writing the copy. So like there's many people involved. There's internal processes that can be slower than we'd like with getting contracts through and payments and invoices and all of that. So that part we would probably in the future take more of that in-house and maybe just say, here's 5 options. This is how much they cost. Which ones do you want to do? And we would sort of do the legwork to make that happen, but still give them a voice and a desire of what they want to do, and just being a little bit more hands-on with getting it done.
That's awesome. And I know, kind of to fast forward, I could have led with this, but I'm keeping you in suspense here. Did any of this work? And it absolutely did. So you had mentioned at the top of the video here that a little over 1,000 students a year, right? And that's largely leveled off. So for this current school year, that's completely leveled out, really, essentially, which is amazing. So obviously the work that y'all are doing is helping a lot. And it goes to show, how many schools do you have in your district in total?
68.
68, and 6 schools in particular participated in this program. It goes to show that these 6 schools saw an increase in enrollment, and that wasn't just taking students from other schools in your district.
Right.
That's awesome.
In short, the 6 schools that were part of the targeted marketing campaign all have more kids enrolled as of July for this upcoming school year than they did for the school year that we just completed. So all in all, a success. They're all seeing between 5 to 15% growth in a single year.
That's awesome. That's huge. So the last kind of thing I want to end on is your results and next steps. You kind of talked through some of that. You talked through some cautionary things maybe that didn't work as well, some changes you make there. Can you kind of talk me through your results and next steps as you're looking ahead?
Yeah, so some good things that came out of this, while we were only working with 6 schools in this part of the campaign, we now have learnings and toolkits that we can share with all of our schools. So we didn't have budget to do a targeted campaign for all 68 schools, but now we have sort of the school tour 101 presentation with information on how to hold a school tour. We have a lead tracker so that the schools can take down everybody's information, follow up with them, keep track of where they are at in their enrollment process. We, learned about the importance of the schools owning their Google My Business account so that they're showing up in searches. So things like that we can use with all of the schools. Some of the things that didn't work as well was we tried to sort of use parents as ambassadors, and there was an idea that, the best advertisement for a school is word of mouth, which is definitely true, but it really needs to happen organically, trying to sort of put parents to work and do it in a measurable way where we're asking them to do certain things at certain times, and that just didn't pan out, so we will not continue with that strategy, and instead it's really having a committee of a few staff at the school. They do get a stipend to work with the principal on some of that community outreach. That's
awesome. And then we all know that if you can get students in the door, they're likely to stay. So kind of the last questions here is you had mentioned some interesting programs around pre-K. Can you talk to me about that a little bit? Yeah, so kind of the 2 big program pieces, so that P and the 4 Ps were the language and culture immersion schools. Those are the ones that saw the most growth in the most recent school year. So our Hmong, East African, and then as well as our Mandarin and
Spanish immersion schools all saw growth. And then the other big piece was, for the first time in a decade, we have more kindergarten students enrolled than we did the prior year, which we were losing hundreds of kindergartners every year. And we attribute that to our investment in free full-day pre-K. We do not get enough funding for all of the pre-K seats that we actually fill, but we do make that investment because we have seen that it pays off in getting those kids in the door when they're 4, and then they're more likely to stay on through kindergarten and follow through there. So we have definitely seen the investment pay off in pre-K.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, anything that we didn't cover that you want to add, and it's okay if you don't have anything specific. You've actually given us a lot to digest here, but anything we didn't cover from your session that stands out that you would want to share with people?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of options, a lot of ways to do this. There isn't necessarily a playbook or a right way or a wrong way, and you can spend hundreds of thousands of dollars and get some results. And there's also things you can do that don't cost any money. If you just are wanting to do something, you don't have budget, you don't have resources, focus on those Google business listings, focus on providing materials, or do a webinar for all your principals on here's how you hold a school tour. Are you following up with parents? Are you telling them where to park, where the door is, how to buzz in, just very basic things? And then are you following up with them, and are you showcasing those things that are really great about your school? I think when principals and staff have worked at a school for a long time, it's easy to forget that every year you have a whole new class of families who have never interacted with you before. So you really need to make that first impression. And anytime you have the opportunity to talk to principals about the importance of that, we get to, as a communications department, do PD with our principals. Yes. We get an hour and a half in August. And so any opportunity you have to get in front of them, use it to talk about enrollment and how, they can play a key role in growing theirs at their school.
That's beautiful. I love that. Thank you very much. Yeah, make sure your websites are up to date. Make sure social media is relevant and happening. Somebody mentioned in your session, make sure you're not just plugging social media full of like the district events that you think are important. I always go back to something Annette Franco at Newport Mesa Unified said once, which is focus on your community's need for communication and not just your need to communicate to your community. And when you are on social media and your websites, and you're being very open and social in these areas and showcasing the value add that you bring to the community, like you just highlighted, those are 2 areas that you really want to make sure that you're leveraging as well. I just can't thank you enough for taking this long to hang out with us and talk through this. I think this is a really unique angle, real world experience, and you had actual measurable results. So again, thanks for taking the time.
Thank you so much, Matt.
That's awesome. Well, hopefully you found this helpful. Be sure to like, share, comment, follow for more. Get in the comments. Hit either one of us up. I know Erica will take your calls as well if you have specific questions about maybe what they did and what some of her strategy was there. I hate to speak for you, but I just know as a human, she'll do that. So that's it. That's all I got for you. We'll see you later. Thanks.